You are listening to the Shemiras Einayim podcast. Chizuk and practical help to overcome our most difficult nisayon.
We're going to be starting now a series, we'll see how long it takes, on Shemiras Einayim. The issue of Shemiras Einayim is a very, very serious one that a normal man above the age of bar mitzvah has to deal with very, very often, many times a day. And it's very chaval that nobody talks about it. It's chaval that many of us feel like we're in this nisayon by ourselves, and that nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to deal with the issues, and because of that, people deal with it in different ways. Some people just ignore it, kilo, that it doesn't exist, that there's no issue here. Kamad, in certain areas, they don't even know that there's a concept called Shemiras Einayim, that there are Yisurin D'Oraisa that a person has to be warned about, has to be careful about all the time. You're outdoors, this is all the time. Just on my way here, from my base measures that I'm learning in Anachal Gilo to here, I had already numerous nisyonos in Shemiras Einayim in the dark, on the way here. And this is something that happens to any normal male all the time.
Try walking up Nachal
Exactly. That's one of the reasons why I switched Bati Midrashim and to learn it in the afternoon, is so that I wouldn't have to deal with the pritzus that goes on Nachaluz. The Rambam in Hilchos Tshuva says an amazing thing. He says, Mehen chamisha oise oisan ein chezkaso l'shuv. There are 5 aveiros that a person does that he doesn't have a chazaka on them that he'll ever do tshuva from them. That you'll ever do tshuva from them. There are 5 aveiros. The person, v'shehein dvarim kalim be'enei roiva adam. They're things that people don't take seriously. V'nimsa choite v'hu yidme she'ein zechet. He sins and he doesn't realize that he's doing anything wrong. And he lists 5 of them. The third one on the list, he says, v'hamistakel ba'arayas. Why is mistakel ba'arayas on this list? Mala al daito she'ein bekach klum. What's the big deal? Shuomer b'chi ba'alti o karafti. What I did in Aveira. I wasn't with her. I didn't touch her. V'u'eno yodea. He doesn't realize. Shemiras Einayim avon gadol. What he sees, what he looks at with his eyes is a great sin. She goremes legufan shel arayas. That causes even more arayas. Shenemar v'lo sasuru acharei lebavchem v'acharei einechem. There's a pasuk we say twice a day. Person has to know you cannot go after your einayim and your leiv. And einayim certainly is a reference to Shemiras Einayim. Certainly a reference to looking at things that we're not allowed to look at. This is acharei einechem, right? Acharei levavchem acharei einechem. We're going to discuss more what exactly the pshat and the pasuk is. Yeah, pasuk pshat, you could say acharei einechem is histaklus and acharei levavchem is kfira. But really, it's much more than just that, because arei einechem, we'll see as we move along, the einayim are the petach that the Yetzer Hara has to get all kinds of taivas into us, to get us to try to do all kinds of sins. The Yetzer Hara uses our eyes more than anything else. That is the petach that the Yetzer Hara has for all of our issues. The Maise, we live in a door where this is unbelievably difficult. This is not something that in previous doras they had to deal with as often. Most of the time, the Yidden lived in a shtetl, in a ghetto, and even the goyim, for decades, for generations, for centuries, were more or less dressed in a tsanua type of way. They didn't walk around the way they walk around today. Today's in the street, everything goes, and it's horrible. It's a terrible thing. It's not just terrible for the men out there that have to fight against it to look at it, but it's terrible for them, for the women themselves that walk around dressing like this. And you think that they're not going to be punished for this? I heard a pshat, a beautiful pshat. We say every day in the brachos in the morning, Shalo Asani Isha. Shalo Asani Isha. The Pashup Pshat in Shalo Asani Isha is that we men were given a responsibility to do more mitzvahs. And Kol HaMitzvah says, Yoiser mi'enu mitzvah v'yoiser. So you get more schar for doing mitzvahs because we're mitzvah. And that's what we say, thank you Hashem for not making me a woman, so I have mechuyev in more mitzvahs, and I can have opportunities to make more schar. I heard a beautiful pshat, a different pshat, and what does it mean? What does it mean, Shalo Asani Isha? I don't remember the name of the Rav who said it, but I believe it was my mashkiach who told it over. Said the pshat is that a woman has the ability to make people sin much, much more than a man does. A man, at least back in the day, was like this. A man, in order to get people to sin, well, he'd go around spreading lashon hara. He'd try to be choyti emach. He'd try to make other people do avodah zarah. It was a difficult work for a man to get so many people to sin. A woman can make people sin like that. All she needs to do is go out in the street, in a public place, not dressed properly. And in an instant, she can get thousands of men to sin. Just like that. You don't think a woman is going to be held responsible for the way she dresses? Of course she will. She definitely will. But the shurim are not for women, unfortunately. We can't, at least not in this forum. I can't tell them that they have just as much a responsibility. We have the responsibility over ourselves too. And the sviva, the atmosphere that we find ourselves in, makes a huge, huge difference. I'll just tell you one short story. One time I was at a certain place, and I was having a hard time learning in the home that I was staying in. I was having a hard time learning there. There were a lot of distractions in this house, and I said to the person, one of the balat habayit, the woman of the house. I said to her, I want to leave. I want to go find a base medrash to learn in. So she said, why can't you learn here? So I said, well, the atmosphere is not very conducive for learning here. I'd rather learn in find a base medrash. So she said to me something that was very, very wrong, but it's a misconception that people have. And that is, she said to me, if you can't learn in this house, that's a problem with you. And that's not true. That's not true at all. If a man can't control himself because he's walking on the street and he sees something that's very provocative, and because of that he looks at it, yes, it's true, it's his sin, but it's not only his fault. The woman shouldn't be dressing like that. It's true. But you have to understand that the sviva that you're in has a very, very strong effect on you. And it's just as much her fault as it is his fault. And both of them are going to be punished for it. Her chait is lifnei iver, and his chait is lo sasura, acharei levavchem v'acharei einechem. But don't think that she's innocent. She is not innocent. Our door is faced with a yetzer hara that we've never seen before. Such openness. Everybody can do whatever you want. You could just do whatever you want. And if you're modest, if you're tznuah, then you're like, well, there's something wrong with you. Then you're not normal. There's something wrong with you. Because we live in a kaddish world, that's why there's something different. But the greater world that we live in, the world that we have to deal with when we walk outside the four walls of the Beis Medrash, is a world that looks at the tznuah world as strange, as repressed. Women don't have freedom in your world. Women are forced down in your world. And it's mamish the exact opposite, but that's a little bit of a different topic. I'm not going to discuss that now. We are facing a yetzer hara that knows he's at the end of his rope. He knows that Yemos Mashiach is right around the bend, and because of that, he's pulling out all the stops. He's not interested in helping you one iota. He wants you to sin in every way possible. And he's making everything available. And the yetzer hara that we have today, and the tests that all I want to say young men, but it's lav dafka, all men have this. If a man doesn't have this yetzer hara, it means one of two things, yeah? It can mean a few things. It means he's sick. There's something wrong with him. Or he hasn't hit puberty yet. yeah, or he's blind, or there's something else wrong with him, yeah. Every normal man has a Yetzer Hara, and every normal man knows that this is out there. The difference is how do you approach it? Most men in the world, not from Jewish men, most men in the world like it. They like it. Why not? It's a feast for the eyes. Let me enjoy myself while I'm out there in the world. So because of that, let me just do whatever I want. Let me look at whatever I want. The women don't even realize that how much they're being taken advantage of by the men just by staring at them. How they're just looked at as a piece of meat. It could be, but if you want to know what a woman cares about, she cares about herself. Does a woman want to look at herself as if she's a piece of meat? That's all I am. All I am is a nice piece of tenderloin steak. That's all I am. That's what I am. And I'm proud to be that way. You have to be really, really shallow to be like that. And I'm sure there are a lot of shallow people out there in the world. That's right. Because people are very, very shallow. And you know what? There are women, because that is the door. But I'm talking about people who are much higher level than that. And we walk in the street too. Because we need to come to yeshiva. We need to go to make parnasa. We need to do all these things too. And because of that, we're faced with these things. And every person thinks that he's on his own. And Rahman al-Islam, when a person falls in this nisayon, he feels like, why did I do this? Why? And did I gain anything from it? Did I pick myself? That little bit of pleasure that a person has, the little bit of pleasure that a person gets from it, was it really worth it? Unfortunately, people can fall to a point where it doesn't mean anything even to them anymore. So, Rabbi, isn't that better? Isn't it better that it shouldn't mean anything to me? There was once, many years ago, there was a bacher. I probably have told this story over. Maybe one day, this recording, the person will hear the recording. Yeah, but there was a person who told me over that he watches movies and television, whatever, and he always sees these actresses who usually the actresses are somewhat attractive, right? Because they probably wouldn't hire them in the first place if they weren't so attractive, because people wouldn't want to watch the movies, right? So they're attractive, and not necessarily are they wearing like a Beis Yaakov girl, yeah. So they're dressed in a way that's very provocative, if not worse than provocative. And this guy said to me many years ago, he said to me, but Rabbi, you should know, it doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't move me at all. I said to him, you know what? I believe you. But you're a sick person. You're sick. If this doesn't do anything for you, I feel bad for you. I feel bad for your future wife. I feel bad. You're just not normal. You're not normal. You've been so desensitized to it. It doesn't arouse you even? Nothing? You're a sick person. We should daven for you. Pashit. There's something wrong with you. Your neshama should feel these things. But this is what happens. A person doesn't feel it. This is one of the mahalchim that people have, and maybe it's not even a mahalch. It's just that I live in this world, and because I live in this world, that's what I feel.
If we were raised secular, so that maybe we would be desensitized. Maybe not a point.
So then you know what happens in the secular world? I'll tell you what happens. This started off as a shalom bayis vad. So let's talk a little bit about shalom bayis. Yeah, when a person grows up in a secular perspective, and he's open to all of these things. Again, even this is only new in the last 40 years. And he grows up, and everything is open, everything is available. Yeah, and maybe he's even experienced most of this stuff. He's going to be able to get married. He's going to be able to have a deep, meaningful relationship with his wife. Maybe for a little while. Maybe for a few months. Then he's going to get bored of her. Why? Because probably she's not as beautiful as the supermodels. Probably she gets into fights with him. probably there's not really much depth to this relationship. And all he does is see another pretty face, who's much prettier than the one that he has at home. Yeah. Or even not. Even it's not prettier than the one that's at home. It's just what we're going to call illicit. It's usher. Once I'm married, so I can't have another woman. So if I can't have another woman, the Yetzer Hara gets in there. Because now it's usher. Ooh, it's usher. That's already a whole new taste. Then the new taste, Mayim Genuvim Im Talku. And once it's an Isser, and you see this happens all the time when you see the big famous politician, actor, sports athlete who cheats on his wife with some whatever, so with some Zoina who not even as pretty as his wife, and then he has to go publicly apologize in front of everyone. Who cares? Why do you have to go to the public and apologize about this? I don't know, but this happens so often. Why? Because he couldn't control himself. Why? Because he doesn't have any normal relationship with his wife. Why doesn't he have a normal relationship with his wife? A good, deep relationship with his wife? It's because he can't. He doesn't know how. The only thing he's had his whole life is superficial. So what he has with his wife is also superficial. What my purpose in this VOD is that I want everybody to feel to when you're coming to this VOD, I want you to know, first of all, that you're not alone. You're not alone. Every person has to deal with it, both if you're single and if you're married. What goes on the preachers that goes out on the streets, and the fact that it's just accepted and encouraged even by the whole world, whether it's men or women. Yeah, maybe women wouldn't appreciate it if they understood the way men looked at them. Maybe the women wouldn't appreciate it. But Lamaise, either they understand it and they're really shallow, or they just don't understand that this is the way that that men look at them. The point that I want to bring out here is I want to try to give chizuk and to give tools for people who really want to make themselves kadosh. To bring kedusha into your life, into yourself, and be'ezus Hashem also into your family. I'll tell you very, very clearly, the more careful you are in this area, the better your marriage will be. Period. The less careful you are, the worse it'll be. The more you're mekadosh yourself, the more kedusha you'll have in your marriage. Okay, so that's why we're here to give chizuk. We're here to give chizuk. And this is the first prat. It's worth it. It's worth it to put in the effort. It's not like I can't do it, and Rabbi, it's too hard. This is just, it's everywhere. It's all the time. How am I supposed to deal with this? So we're going to talk about certain eights. Obviously, one of the best eights is don't put yourself into a malkum sakana. Don't put yourself into a place where it's going to be impossible. Oh, but I have to go to this wedding, or I have to go to this place. Listen, these things happen to everybody, that a person has to go to certain things. The question is, how often are you there? How often do you have to be in these situations? Do you have to go to Dizengoff every single day? No. Okay. So how often do you have a chasana that you have to go to the women's side of the chasana? Yeah. How often does that happen? Or how often does it happen that you have to be in a place that's molly preaches? The first that Eitz Gadol is just don't put yourself there. Don't put yourself in a makom sakana as best as you can. And it's hard many times, and especially if a person doesn't think about it. He doesn't think beforehand. What can do I know that this is going to happen? Do I know that I'm going to be in a makom sakana? Many of us, we just don't think. I didn't realize this was going to happen. Yes, but if you would have stopped to think 2 hours ago, 5 hours ago, yesterday, 2 days ago, would you have realized that this is where it was going to be? Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. If it was sometimes yes, so that means we have to start training ourselves into thinking a little bit more about what's really going to happen if tomorrow. What's really going to happen when I have to go to this place? If a person really didn't know, okay, these things happen. When you're there, you do your best to deal with the situation as is, and we'll talk about different eights for that too. We're all in the same boat. Maybe a married person is a little bit easier because he has pas pesalo. Maybe, yeah? But I'll tell you something else. If a married person does not have good shalom bayis, there's no pas pesalo. Adrabah, sometimes it's a lot worse. It's a lot worse. If a person has a good marriage, then it's easier. But this is how we build a good marriage. Building a good marriage means building a marriage on kedusha. And the main place where kedusha starts is with your eyes. That's the petach for kedusha or the petach for tumah chas v'shalom. So I just want to talk about an eitzah or two, and then we'll finish. Learning Torah is a great eitzah. Learning Torah, Chazal tell us, Torah tavlin, we have a Yetzer Hara. The best way to deal with your Yetzer Hara is with Torah. Not all of us can be involved in Torah all day. It's difficult. But if you want to be in Torah and you're putting effort and you're trying as hard as you can, that already starts the process of saving you, of keeping you safe from the Yetzer Hara. And a person that is the number one, the starting. All the eitzes we're going to say are very good, but if a person doesn't have Torah, he's mamish without the most essential part of protection. He must have Torah in his life. Anyway, in marriage, a person needs to have it. Everything part of life, you have to have Torah in your life. So maybe this is just the most pashut thing in the world, but I can't stress it enough. Whatever eitzes we're going to say, whatever we're going to talk about, whatever chizuk we're going to give, l'maiseh, the more a person is involved in limud Torah, the more protected he will be. A person can use this as an eitzah also. Sometimes you're on a bus, and there's a pretty girl in the next seat over or across the aisle, and it's hard not to look. So what do? Well, if I could keep my eyes busy with something else, you have music, or you want to sleep a little bit, or maybe have a pocket sefer, maybe Shnai Mikra or Mishnayos or something a little bit easier to read. If it's easier English, then have it in English. Whatever is easier to do, to just keep yourself busy, your eyes busy doing something else. This is a huge eitzah, and these are the times like when you're on a bus or you're waiting for a bus, or just a bottle time, a time where you have to do something, but it's not for another 20 minutes. It's not for another half hour. And that's when a person's eyes can wander. If you're busy doing something, so then it's much easier to be safe from this. So that's one eitzah. Maybe if a person finds himself this week, before you go out, before you go to school, to work, or to wherever a person is going during the day, maybe an eitzah is take a sefer along with you. I'll tell you, for me, just in the last month, I started doing Mishnayos for Steinemann. They have the whole thing. You can see the Yated every Tuesday. Who won the Hagrala? 600 shekels for Avrechim, 500 shekels for Bachrim, yeah? So what do? On my walk over here, I do that parak of Mishnayos. The parak of Mishnayos that we're doing for Steinemann today was parak Beis of Moed Katan. Happens to be the shortest parak of all of them. Yeah, on the walk in the morning to yeshiva in the morning, and then I take the test on the phone, and then I have my head in the sefer the whole walk. Now, granted, I might run into a tree, but it hasn't happened yet. Yeah? It hasn't happened yet.
Not more than people that have a smartphone.
Not more than people that have a smartphone. Very good, very good. Yeah? It hasn't happened yet, Baruch Hashem. I know where I'm going. I haven't gotten hit by a car, Baruch Hashem. I'm not talking about people who, Chassid Shoite, who walks into a pole because he's so frum, he can't look where he's going. I'm not talking about that. We can be normal too. Yeah?
I saw someone that they had a blind person's stick and they stuck it from kids.
Oh yeah, so they don't even have to pick up their. Lemay say you keep your eyes busy with other things, and the best thing that your person can keep your eyes in is Torah. Okay, Mr. Sharm, any sefer that you like. There's one last point that I want to make, and we'll finish for today. We're going to be talking about this a lot. I have a sefer that he brings in that sefer a letter from Rav Yehuda Leib Wittler, who was a mashkiach in England, and he brings there a number of different ideas, eitzes, and I want to try to go through one a week. So first of all, the eitzah that we're giving for this week, if we want to work on this practically, the eitzah we're doing for this week is If a person is going someplace, try to bring something with them, whether it be music. Music also, sometimes a person can just get into the music and space, everything else can be out if a person that's good for a person. Or if he could take a pocket safer with him, even if it would only save him just for a few minutes, it's already worth it. The one idea that I wanted to bring also from Rabbi Klapper that we're going to try to do at least one a week. The first one he brings over here is that a person might think that if they're over on this Aveira, and unfortunately this happens all the time, and it's even though it's usher, it's normal. We have a Yetzer Hara, and this happens. A person should not think, and this is very, very important, a person should not think that he's a faker, that he comes and he learns and he looks so frum, and at the same time he's being over on these Aveiros all the time. Rabbi, I'm a faker. I'm not the big tzaddik that everybody thinks I am. I'm not the big masmid that everybody thinks I am. I'm really being over Aveiros all the time. And I feel like a faker. There are some people out there, you should know, that this is the biggest chet in the world is to be a faker. The one thing that they cannot deal with more than anything else is to be a faker. And because of that, they end up doing worse things. I can't be a faker. I can't be a faker. Yitzi, let me just finish, yeah? I can't be a faker. A person feels, or some types of people feel, that it's a stira. I'm a hypocrite if at the same time that I'm sitting and learning Torah, I'm also being over on countless Aveiros all the time because I'm watching movies or because I'm just sitting in Parkai alone, seeing who passes by. Yeah? And I'm being over on Aveiros all the time, and at the same time, so I'm living a double life. I'm a hypocrite. How could I be doing both things? Rabbi Klapper writes something very, very choshev, that a person should not think that they're a faker. This person is not a faker. He's going through a rough time. It's difficult for him, and everybody has difficulties. And a person, you need to know that everybody has difficulties. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't continue doing what's right just because you're having a hard time in a different area. Adarabah. A lot of times, the real person you want to be is the one who's sitting and learning in the base medrash, not the one who's doing these terrible things. So what? So if you continue sitting and learning in the base medrash, you continue working on your avodas Hashem in whichever way, tefillah, chesed, whatever way you're working on. So then you're giving yourself more chizuk. And not only that, you're actually giving yourself space. You're giving yourself space to be able to improve. Person who thinks I'm a faker and I'm not worth anything because I'm a faker, and because of that he throws away, he's not going to throw away the movies because that just keeps coming at him. He's not going to throw away the preachers that's out there because that he can't throw away. So he's going to throw away the base medrash. He's the one who loses out. Don't think that you're a faker. Don't think that you're a person who I can't live both lives. You're not that way. You're just a person who's struggling. And we all struggle. We all have different Yetzer Hara, and this is one of the big ones. And everybody has to deal with it. Adarabah, the best thing to do is to be mechazik more on learning and keep fighting. And ask for help. A lot of times, I can't do this on my own. I can't do it. And so what do? I just give in and just throw myself into the Aveira? I can't ask anybody about it, Rabbi. I'll be so embarrassed. It's true. It's embarrassing. But the first thing you need to know is that everybody goes through it. Every single normal person goes through it. Yeah? And Be'ezras Hashem, we'll try to take every week, we'll try to take a few eitzes and think about it. Work on it. This is so choshev for the rest of your life. For today, for every day. And don't give up. Don't say, I just can't do it. I just can't do it. Because you can. HaKadosh Baruch will give you the koach. The beginnings, all the hatzalas are difficult to start it, but Be'ezras Hashem will all eventually be totally successful.
Amen. Wow.
Thank you for listening to this Foundations podcast production. If you like today's episode, don't forget to subscribe. And if you know someone who this podcast might help, don't forget to let him know. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.